Hi everyone, welcome to my channel. In this episode, I show you how to transform your images by using one feature in Photoshop. For those of you who don't use Photoshop but only use Lightroom, don't worry, I got a feature in there that can do pretty much the same thing. I also have an exciting announcement about a photography competition that you're going to want to submit your images for. This photography competition comes with $5,000 worth of prizes and a $1,000 grand prize, but there's going to be more information on that, so stay tuned. If you are new to this channel, my name is Shannon and I'm a full-time photographer in beautiful British Columbia. Whether you're here to learn, be inspired, or simply enjoy some stunning visuals, you've come to the right place. Subscribe to my channel if you want to see more videos like this. So I got some images here. Here's one of an elk in the middle of this beautiful field here, and there's a lot of color here, but it's quite, dull. And this is just the raw image that we're going to be working on. Now, normally in Lightroom, I would probably up the contrast and maybe lower the highlights and bring up the shadows. But we're going to take the raw image here and we're going to use this technique so we can really see sort of the power in this one technique that you can add to your tools to edit your images. So the first thing I'm going to do is actually just brighten it up a little bit, and then I'm going to right click, edit in Photoshop. Okay, so here we're in Photoshop. I won't go too much into details on like how to use all the different tools, but just briefly, on the left hand side we have our tools. So we got our pen tool, paintbrush, spot healing, cloning tool. That's on the left hand side here. And then on the right we have our image, and it's in a layer. And if we drag this down into the plus icon down here, we can duplicate our layer, and I will be adding more and more layers to this image on the different adjustments that I'm going to do. One of those adjustments is what this is all about, why you've clicked on this video. And it's down here. You can see that there's this little icon here. It's a circle with a line through it. And this is an adjustment layer that we can add to this image. And it gives you all these different options. And the one that we're looking at is color balance. Now there's other ones that you'll see on here like brightness, contrast, exposure. Those are very similar to what Lightroom can do. But color balance here, if we select this, it opens up this panel up here where we got some properties. And if we look and we click on this little drop down, we have shadow, tones, mid-tones, and highlights that we can select. So let's click on shadows for a minute. And then we got these sliders right here where we can work on the shadows, adding some color and adding some depth to this image. So with shadows, I think of cooler tones. And so we'll just grab the blue and I'll pull those in, and you can drastically see a change to our image. Now I'm going to want to balance that out a little bit with some midtones. Maybe the midtones are going to be a little bit more yellow, and I might add some red to that. Already, look at the difference. If I turn this off and on, crazy how different it is. It's a little dark, and we don't have a lot of pop of light. So is there a way that we can incorporate that? Well, there is highlights, and we can bring up highlights in the same adjustment. Or if I go Control Z, I can just add another layer that I can just focus more on the highlights. So I'll go down to color balance, and then we'll go to highlights, and then I'm just going to bring up the highlights here. Maybe I want the highlights to be a little bit more red. Maybe I want them to be a bit more green. Okay, so we up the brightness here. Now, on the right of this adjustment layer, so we have our adjustment layer here on the left. On the right, you see this white square here, and this is our mask right here. And when it's white, it's revealing all the adjustments that we made. So white is to reveal, black, if I go Command I, we make it black. Black is to conceal. So what I can do to be specific with what it is that I want the adjustment layer to be presented on my image, I can select a paintbrush that has white, which is to reveal, and I can paint in on this black concealed mask. So bear with me for a second. We got this paintbrush over here, and I will go down and make sure that it's selected to white. If it's not, if it's black, you can just hit this little arrow here, or you can press X on your keyboard and it'll swap between the two. So white is to reveal, so as I paint, it's going to be revealing that adjustment layer that I made. Now my opacity is like 36 right now. We're going to bump that up a little higher to be a little bit more efficient. And typically I don't go full 100%. Because sometimes these adjustments are just too extreme, and I like to add in multiple brush strokes and slowly bring it into view. And then we can switch in between black and white. So black will remove it. And I have a pen right here, and it's got buttons on the side. I'm using a tablet as well. And so with this button, I can just push and it will change the white and black. So I'm constantly adding, taking away, and painting in my selections here. So if you think that that's awesome, please give me that thumbs up. We're going to keep going with a few other examples. Here we go. Now I'm going to go down to color balance, and we're going to work with the shadows first. Crush the blues, maybe add some reds. Ooh, I like that. Maybe some magenta. Midtones, we're gonna bring it up a bit warm here. And then look, you can go from springtime, sort of with this cayenne, all the way to really red. Now it's doing a lot to the whole entire image. So those tree trunks that I would like to keep a little bit more white and neutral colors. These are things that we're going to want to paint in or paint out during these adjustments. So I like that adjustment. I might even keep that to the entire image, and then just bring up a whole other layer, layer here that I'm just going to work specifically on the yellow leaves. Maybe add it a little bit warm, go to the highlights, really just make them sing. And then I might go to shadows just to see what the shadows are gonna do. Do I want red? Want a green? Okay, that works really well. So obviously I don't like it on the road, I don't like it in a lot of places, but I'll just go Command I to conceal it with that black, get my paintbrush, make sure it's white, and then I'm just going to start painting in areas where I really want those warm colors to pop. Okay, I'm going to speed this up because I'm basically using the same feature, but I'm doing it in layers. So I might focus on the leaves. Another layer will focus maybe on the shadows. Maybe I'll focus on more warm colors and cool colors. And of course, you can use this feature as many times as you want within an individual image. Okay, let's see what the original looked like. So that's the original, and this is with all of our adjustments here. Okay, we're gonna speed up the next few images here, kind of just to show you how powerful this feature is, but on other images. And with the hummingbirds here, I kind of darkened the hummingbirds in their nest, as well as kind of changed the green to a more warmer magenta color. Next is this beautiful bull moose in this field. So I first focus on the background, and I kind of warm up, add some contrast to the trees back there, and some of them I made a little bit more green. Kind of playing around with the colors there. And then the foreground with the moose in it, I warm that right up to that sort of hay field look that I remember that day. Now the moose, you can go ahead and you can select the moose and kind of mask it out. So when you're painting over that selection, you're not actually painting over the moose. This next image is here on Vancouver Island, and it's a beautiful blue day. It's not quite sunset, but what if you wanted to make it a little bit more like the sun was setting with those nice warm colors? I played around with the reflection as well, and those cliffs that were very, very sort of gold color. And then I warmed up those trees as well. Keep in mind that this is just one feature, one tool that you can include in your editing process. Obviously, I would be doing a lot of other things on these images, but I just wanted to highlight this one feature that I think is pretty cool. Now in a moment, I'm going to show you the same feature in Lightroom. It's similar, a little different, but before we get into that, I want to talk to you about an exciting photography contest put on by Wilder. Now, while I talk about those photo contest details, let's take a look at some wildlife footage to get really inspired. This competition is the only competition in the world that is judged live in real time. That means you will submit your photographs over the course of the next month, and that the finalists will be judged live in front of all of you, competing for a $5,000 prize pool, as well as a first place category prize of $500 and a $1,000 grand prize. This is the third annual YouTube Live Wildlife Photography Competition, and I am honored to be one of the judges this year. To enter your images into the Wilder Photo Competition, please click on the link in the description below. Submission closes September 22nd. All right, let's get back onto the computer and go into Lightroom. So I'm in Lightroom right now, and if you come down to the tone curve here, if you find it folded up like this, open it up so you can see this. And if you remember in Photoshop, let's go over in Photoshop for a second. When you look up here on this properties, where you had all the sliders, and then you could select highlights, midtones, and shadows, you'll notice that it is the tone that we're selecting. So with the tone, we're selecting midtones, and then we have sliders from yellow to blue, cyan to red, that sort of thing. So if we go back over into Lightroom, with the tone curve, we're in tones. And you've got a couple of different colors here. You got blue, green, and red. And with the blue, you can move that linear line over into the blues or over into the yellows. And this is more or less removing maybe one color over another, and I'll explain a little bit more as we go along. And then we have greens here, where you go from greens to magenta, and then from red into cyan. So I don't want to do linear, but you can just make some adjustments with the linear curve. I'd rather go down to the point curve and select strong contrast, and already there it gives us way more contrast, which I like seeing. And then we'll select the blue here, and we'll kind of just grab a hold of that line and drag it down and warm it up. And then I might go over into the greens here, add maybe some magenta, and then go over into the red here. Maybe I might bring out some more greens, that's cyan. And even right there, I kind of like that. Now it's a bit dark, I'm gonna brighten it up with the exposure here. Now, this is making global adjustments, and we can't really do layers here, can we? Well, you kind of can. If you go up here to your masking and you select this tool up here, it'll drop down a couple of features. One, you got your subject, you got your sky, your background, and we can select that and make these same tone adjustments just like we did in Photoshop. Or you can even select brush. So if we select brush, we can actually paint, say, the yellow trees here. Now we go down to our tones, and I will select maybe strong again. Maybe I like strong. And look, if we dive down into the yellows, it's gonna really add so much more saturation, and there's that contrast that's there. Let's go to median contrast. Maybe we want to do median instead, not too strong. And with the brush, if you go up to the top on Lightroom here, you have brush settings. So you could control the flow, just like opacity is over in Photoshop. You can now control your pen. Let's do a radial gradient, and we'll just select everything down here in the foreground, like that. And then we'll make this a little bit, we'll make it a little bit more cooler, a little bit more blue. Maybe we'll add some green to it. That looks pretty good. And maybe I want to duplicate that. So you can right click this. There we go, duplicate. And I can bring it up and then add it maybe here, because maybe I really like that color. And you can apply it, you can see it transforms wherever that radial gradient is. It's gonna apply it inside that. And you can twist and turn it, and we can add a lot more feathering or less. I like a lot more feathering. So have you ever used this feature in Photoshop or in Lightroom? Let me know down in the comments if this is something you would add to your workflow. If you like this content, please give me that thumbs up. It helps with the channel and this episode. And if you aren't subscribed, think about subscribing. Be sure to check out the link again for that photography contest. I'm just going to be one of the judges, and I hope to see you during the competition. Thank you so much for watching, and I will see you on the next episode. Ciao.